and the Wonderful Lamp. Chapter 1. Aladdin was the son of a poor tailor. His father tried to teach him the trade, but the boy was so lazy he refused to do any work. Because Aladdin never lifted a finger, his father worked himself to exhaustion until he died. But even then, Aladdin would not change his lazy ways and played with the naughty boys in the street while his mother spun cotton. When Aladdin was 15, a magician arrived in the kingdom. The magician wandered the streets, looking for some foolish boy to trick. When he saw Aladdin, he pounced on him immediately. "Hello there, your face looks familiar," he called. "Tell me who your father is." "My father's Mustafa, a tailor, but he's been dead for 2 years," Aladdin replied. "Oh dear me, it can't be true. I've come all this way to see my brother Mustafa, only to find out he's dead," cried the magician. He hugged Aladdin close and pretended to weep. "And you, fine boy, must be my nephew. You surely taken over your poor father's tailor shop." "Bah," said Aladdin, "I can't stand working. I prefer to play in the streets with my friends." "What? That's no good for a young boy. Let me make you an offer. If you come with me tomorrow, I'll buy a shop and make you a shopkeeper. That way you can earn money without doing labor." I like the sound of that, and agreed to follow his false uncle the next day. Chapter 2. In the morning, the magician led Aladdin out of the city across the countryside and into the mountains. Eventually, they came to a ledge of the edge of a cliff. "Uncle, where's my shop?" "Why are we out here?" Aladdin asked. "Gather some firewood, boy. You'll be thankful you're here." So Aladdin gathered wood and built a small fire. The magician sprinkled incense over the flames, waved his hands, and murmured mysterious words. Before Aladdin's eyes, the earth opened up, revealing a stone with a brass ring attached. Take hold of the ring and lift the stone," ordered the magician. Aladdin was quite afraid, for he was sure this was no ordinary uncle. He lifted the stone and saw a passageway leading down the stone stairs into the darkness. "Now, nephew, you must do exactly as I say. Go down the stairs and into the golden hall. But do not touch the walls. Even brushing your sleeves against the gold will kill you instantly. At the end of the hall, you will come to a fruit orchard with a path leading to a small lamp sitting inside the stone. Blow out the flame, empty the oil, and bring the lamp to me. I'll give you my ring, which will keep you from harm as long as you obey me." Aladdin looked at the ring and went down the stairs, careful not to touch the golden walls of the beautiful hall. At the end of the hall, he entered a bright orchard with fruit trees, bearing the most colorful, delicious fruit Aladdin has ever seen. He could not resist plucking a bright red apple. As soon as he took it from the tree, the apple changed into a solid ruby. At the next tree, he plucked a bunch of golden grapes, which turned into a cluster of pearls. Lemons turned into diamonds, and limes to emeralds. Aladdin gathered as much as fruit he could before following the path to the lamp. He piled the lamp on top of the treasure in his arms and returned the stairs where his uncle waited. "Uncle, my load is heavy. Hold me up. First give me the lamp." demanded the magician. "I told you, uncle, my hands are full. I cannot give you anything until you help me." "Foolish boy, give me the lamp, or stay down there forever." The magician knew the lamp's magic would not work if he took it from someone by force. "But uncle," protested Aladdin before he could finish. The magician muttered more magic words, and slam! The stone flew shut, locking Aladdin inside the cave. Aladdin called and called, but his uncle would not answer. Finally, he decided to pray, but when he pulled his hands together, he accidentally rubbed the magician's ring, and suddenly a frightful genie stood before him. What would you have?" I am a slave of whoever wears the ring." Aladdin was terrified, but he immediately replied, "Bring me home." In no time, he stood at the front of the door, his worried mother weeping with joy to see him. Aladdin was starving, and he begged his mother to sell one of the treasures, the dusty lamp, perhaps for food. His mother began to polish the lamp with the old rag, and the other enormous genie appeared. "What would you have?" "I am a slave of whoever owns the lamp." His mother was terrified, but Aladdin knew what to do. Bring us a satisfying feast," he shouted. In an instant, the genie brought dozens of silver trays overflowing with food, butter rolls, delectable pastries, and steaming roasts filled their table. When Aladdin and his mother finished, enough food still remained for many days. They would never be hungry again. When the food ran out, they sold a piece of beautiful silverware on one of the trays for more. Chapter 3. They would have lived like that forever if Aladdin had not been on the street where he heard the town crier shouting, "Back to your houses all! Shutter your windows! Princess Berir will go to the bath." No one was allowed to see the Sultan's daughter without her veil. Aladdin hid himself behind the wall of the bathhouse, eager to see the princess's face. When he came by the servants, Aladdin was struck by her beauty. He vowed he would marry her. "Have you lost your senses?" cried his mother when he told his plans. "Only my heart," Aladdin replied. "Take the silver tray with our meal and load it with fruit and from the carven. Wrap it carefully with rags and take it to the Sultan to ask his daughter's hand in marriage." Though he enrolled that a trader's wife would never be allowed to see the Sultan, Aladdin's mother piled the tree with gleaming jewels and wrapped it with rags. The Sultan guards would have thrown her out, but the Sultan was curious as to what was hidden inside the bundle. He ordered Aladdin's mom there into the hall. Aladdin's mother bowed low, holding up the rag bundle, which was scarcely discussable with her clothing. Sultan, my son begs for your daughter's hand in marriage. The Sultan burst out laughing. "Even if I allowed it, my daughter would be insulted to live with someone as poor as your son. But before I toss you out, unwrap your bundle and show me what you have brought." Aladdin's mother unwrapped the package, and an enormous jewels glittered in the sunlit hall. The Sultan's jaws fell open as he admired a gold pear. "So you have never seen such treasures?" "I am very impressed. Perhaps your son is worthy after all. But before I allow my daughter to marry him, he must truly prove his worth. Tell him he has 7 days to deliver 40 trays of these gems. Each tray must be solid gold. Each gold tray must be carried by 2 slaves, and each slave must be dressed in the richest clothes. Aladdin's mother went back to her son and told him what the Sultan had said. Aladdin laughed, but that power of the lamp could get him anything. Instantly, the genie produced a train of 80 slaves carrying trays of gold and jewels. A crowd gathered to watch them march to the Sultan's palace behind Aladdin's ragged mother. Again, you have impressed me, the Sultan said, but I must know what he will keep my daughter happy. Tell your son to have a splendid palace ready for her by the end of the week. In a flash, Aladdin ordered the genie to build a magnificent palace in the garden across the Sultan's window. The genie even ran a soft red carpet from the door of the Aladdin's palace to the door of the Sultan. Aladdin himself, dressed in the finest silk, rode to the Sultan's door on a horse more beautiful than any of the Sultan's stables. It would be unfair to my daughter if I did not allow to marry such a worthy man, said the Sultan. And so it was that Aladdin and the princess were married. All the kingdom came to the wedding procession. Musicians led the Princess Burier down the carpet toward the Aladdin's palace, and 400 torches lit in the street as brightly as day. Inside Aladdin's palace, a septimus feast of solid silver plates. It was the most joyful occasion the kingdom could remember, and Aladdin and Burier had happiness for many years. Chapter 4. They would have lived like this forever, but Aladdin loved riding along the streets of the city, throwing gold to everyone he met. This made him quite famous. Soon the magician heard of this boy who seemed to have riches as if by magic, and knew Aladdin had stolen his ring and the lamp to gain his wealth. The magician disguised himself as a peddler, filled a basket with shining lamps, and then came to the palace door while Aladdin was out. Who will exchange old lamps to new ones? He called. Badier peeked out of the window. Won't Aladdin be surprised if he finds a shiny new lamp instead of a dull one he keeps in chamber? He took the magic lamp from Aladdin's room and brought it to the peddler. Immediately, the magician lit the lamp and summoned the genie. What would you have? I am a slave of whoever owns the lamp. Take this princess to her palace and servants, and send us all to Africa, the magician cried. With a flash, the palace vanished. When the Sultan looked out his window, he gasped in horror. His daughter's palace had vanished into a puff of smoke. He ordered Aladdin be brought before him. The Sultan raged. Whatever sorcery you used to protect your riches has made my daughter disappear. If you cannot bring her back in 5 days, I'll chop off your head. Aladdin pleaded for his innocence, but the Sultan couldn't hear none of it. Sadder than he had ever been, Aladdin wandered the city for 3 days. He asked everyone if they had seen his princess. On the 4th day, he decided to pray, and he wrote the magic ring, which I had almost forgotten about. What would you have? I am a slave Whoever wears the ring, please return my palace as it was. Only the genie of the lamp can undo what the genie of the lamp has done. The genie answered. Then take me to my palace, Aladdin said. Before he could blink, Aladdin stood at the front of his palace, which now sat in a lonely desert in Africa. He snuck inside and renewed it with his Princess Buddir, and then they both shed tears of joy. I have a plan to get our lamp back, whispered Aladdin. He gave the Buddir a pouch filled with a potion that made its victims slow and sleepy. Buddir then invited the magician to eat with her. Flattered by her sudden kindness, the magician allowed the princess to pour his drink. She secretly added the powder, and soon the magician was nodding in the soap. My dear, said Buddir, doesn't it seem awfully dark in here? The magician's eyelids was half closed, so it did seem dark to him. Why, yes, it does, he mumbled. Why wouldn't you give me that old lamp and carry around, so we could die by its flame? The magician mumbled by the potion under the magic lamp. She summoned the genie immediately. Take me and Aladdin to my palace, and my palace to the Sultan's kingdom, and leave this horrid magician in the desert, where he will never find his way out, she ordered. The genie died as he asked, and they were all returned to their home, safe and sound. The Sultan was so pleased to see his daughter again, he made Aladdin and the head of his throne. After the Sultan passed on the crown, Aladdin and Buddir ruled the kingdom for many happy years.